Students, welcome to e-learning of new class. I'm here with your first chapter, The Triumph of Surgery, and it's written by James Harriet. Now about the writer. John's Alfred Wright. He was born in 1995 and at the age of 104 in Sundarban, England. His pen name was John Harriet and his occupation was he was a veterinary surgeon as well as a writer and writer of language British. Here now some idea about the chapter. Tricky, the dog. Tricky, a small dog, is pampered and overfed. He was very much taken care by his rich mistress. He falls seriously ill and his mistress consults a veterinary surgeon. So does he perform an operation? Does the dog recover? Will it be a triumph of surgery? Triumph means the victory of surgery. So here the story is in brief. The story starts when Mrs. Pomfrey, a rich lady, takes a dog out for a walk. A nearby veterinary doctor who knows that lady sees the dog and is shocked as he sees that dog looks like a blotted sausage with a leg at each end. That means he has become a fluffy, fat, and he advises her to stop giving him unhealthy things to eat. But Miss Pomfrey is not able to refuse him. Soon he falls sick and the doctor is called. The narrator, Mr. Harriet, who was a veterinary doctor, and he sees the Tricky and the dog to the hospital. He took the hospital. Even though he knows that Mrs. Pomfrey is not ready to leave her dog, and nearly fainted just by hearing these words that he is taken to hospital to take good care. Then he takes the dog along and puts bed before him in his surgery. The dog does not move much nor eats anything for the first 2 days because he was kept under the observation, and so that's why he was not eating anything for first 2 days. On second day, he looks around and whimpers a bit. That means he just looked around and looks here and there to see what is going on. He wanted to go on the third day and started playing with the bigger dogs when he found that he also licked the bowl of other dogs clean on the third day. So whatever the food was kept there, he just with the other dogs he licked that. Licked means he had eaten that. Then his condition started improving very fast. He started fighting for his meals with other dogs. Then when this news reached Miss Pomfrey, she started sending him eggs as she thought that Tricky was recovering from an illness and needed energy food because he was eating with the other dogs. So she thought that, and she thought that if this eggs could be sent to Tricky, he could have the energy. Mr. Harriet and his partners started eating those eggs for morning breakfast. Then for improving Tricky's blood, Miss Pomfrey started sending in bottles of wine which was again consumed by Harriet. So whatever it was, the eggs was given for the Tricky, it was consumed by the Mr. Harriet and his partners. But again she thought that she would give him the bottles of wine so that it can be taken by Tricky, but it was again consumed by the Mr. Harriet. He used to take 2 glasses before lunch and some more glasses while having his lunch. And when she started sending in bottles of brandy for Tricky, that was the time when Mr. Harriet thought that would be really like to keep Tricky as a permanent guest in the surgery. So when these wines, this brandy was taken for given to the Tricky, but it was unfortunately it was consumed by the doctor itself. And so he thought that the tricky should be kept permanent in the surgery. Mr. Harriet used to be really happy someday by having 2 extra eggs every morning, then having few glasses of wine in the afternoon, and closing the day by having brandy at night. But then he took a wise decision and called up Mrs. Pomfrey, as she was really worried, and on this side Tricky was ready to be taken back home. So when all this thing was consumed by Mr. Harriet, he was taking all this wine, this eggs, brandy, everything. So now he took a very important decision that now the Tricky should be given back to Mrs. Pomfrey. Tricky was really happy to see his mistress and jumped into the car. Miss Pomfrey said that she won't be able to ever thank him for what he had done, and also this his surgery which he has done, and it was very successful, and now the Tricky was cured. Now the character sketch. Mrs. Pomfrey. Miss Pomfrey is a fabulously rich, a very rich lady. She is a resourceful lady with large number of servants, maids. She is passionately attached to her little pet dog, Tricky. She is much worried about Tricky's miserable condition. Tricky had become hugely fat and listless. She thinks Tricky to be suffering from malnutrition. So she starts giving him Horlicks every night. The doctor knew that Tricky's only fault was that his greed for food. So he advised Mrs. Pomfrey to cut down food and sweets for Tricky. So Mrs. Pomfrey, it was very difficult because she pampers Tricky and she has spoiled him a lot. Miss Pomfrey is impractical but very compassionate and caring. She and her staff arrange all comforts, beds, cushion and toys for Tricky. She constantly inquires about his health, and Mr. Dr. Harriet, she gratefully thanks Dr. Harriet for saving Tricky's life and calls it a type of surgery. Here are some question answer for your understanding. So just go through this question answer. And here some self-assessment questions are there. After your understanding this chapter, just complete this question answer and do it in your copy. I hope everything you will be completing in your copy. So with this, we end up our video. Thank you and have a nice day.